The allure of a tropical getaway is undeniable. White sand beaches, crystal clear water, and the promise of relaxation. But sometimes paradise can harbor a dark side, a sinister secret lurking beneath the surface. This is the story of a couple who booked an Airbnb in Florida seeking sun and tranquility. What they found sent chills down their spines. Their dream vacation transformed into a nightmare. Mark and Sarah were ecstatic as they arrived at their Airbnb. They'd been planning this getaway for months, a much-needed break from their hectic lives. The moment they stepped out of the car, they felt a wave of relaxation wash over them. The house looked even more inviting in person, with its quaint charm and welcoming aura. The pictures online didn't do it justice. The interior was beautifully decorated with cozy furniture and warm lighting that made the space feel like a home away from home. Every corner of the house seemed to have a personal touch, from the vintage paintings on the walls to the plush rugs underfoot. The cottage was charming, nestled amidst palm trees and a stone's throw from the beach. The sound of the waves crashing in the distance added to the serene atmosphere. They could already picture themselves enjoying morning coffee on the porch with the ocean breeze gently rustling the leaves around them. They unpacked, eager to start their vacation. Sarah carefully placed their clothes in the wardrobe while Mark set up their toiletries in the bathroom. They chatted excitedly about their plans for the week, from exploring the local town to spending lazy afternoons on the beach. But as Mark surveyed the living room, something felt off. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but there was an unsettling feeling in the back of his mind. The room was perfect, almost too perfect, and it made him uneasy. He tried to shake off the feeling, attributing it to the stress of the journey. A tiny hole in the smoke detector caught his eye. It was barely noticeable, but once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. His curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to take a closer look. He wondered if it was just a trick of the light or something more sinister. Curiosity piqued, he grabbed a chair and peered closer. His blood ran cold. Hidden within the smoke detector was a tiny camera lens, barely visible but unmistakable. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. Someone had been watching them. The cozy, inviting home now felt like a trap. And the sense of violation was overwhelming. Mark's mind raced as he tried to figure out what to do next. Should they confront the owner? Call the police? The vacation they had been so excited about had suddenly turned into a nightmare. There, staring back at him, was a tiny camera lens. Panic surged through Mark. He quickly discovered a microphone concealed alongside it. His mind raced. They were being watched, their every move recorded. The idyllic vacation rental had become a voyeur's playground. Fury and fear warred within him. They contacted the police immediately. In the quaint town of Palaiseau, France, a group of friends embarked on a weekend retreat. They rented a charming house with a sprawling garden. Laughter and conversation filled the air as they settled in. Little did they know, a horrifying secret lay buried in the very ground they stood on. Section 5. A gruesome discovery. The afternoon sun cast long shadows over the old, dilapidated house. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. As one of the friends, Marie, strolled through the garden, she felt a strange sense of unease. The garden, usually a place of solace and beauty, seemed different today. She wandered towards a secluded corner, drawn by the vibrant colors of wildflowers that stood in stark contrast to the rest of the overgrown and neglected garden. As she leaned in to admire the flowers, a foul odor hit her nostrils, causing her to recoil in disgust. The smell was unlike anything she had ever encountered before, a putrid mix of decay and earth that seemed to cling to the back of her throat. Determined to find the source of the stench, Marie began to brush aside some overgrown branches and foliage. Her heart pounded in her chest as she pushed deeper into the undergrowth, the smell growing stronger with each step. Finally, her eyes fell upon a sight that would forever be seared into her memory. There, partially hidden beneath the tangled branches and leaves, lay a decomposed body. Its skeletal hand reached out from the shallow grave, as if in a final, desperate plea for help. The sight was both horrifying and tragic, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface. Marie's breath caught in her throat as she stumbled backward, her mind racing with a mix of fear and disbelief. She turned and ran back towards the house, her footsteps echoing in the eerie silence of the garden. The discovery had shaken her to her core, and she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Back inside, Marie's friends gathered around her, their faces etched with concern as she recounted what she had found. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy with tension, each of them grappling with the horrifying reality of the situation. They knew they had to call the authorities, but the thought of what lay ahead filled them with dread. The police arrived shortly after, their presence adding a new layer of gravity to the scene. They cordoned off the area and began their investigation, the once peaceful garden now a crime scene. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the house and garden, the friends could only watch in silence, their minds haunted by the gruesome discovery. Section 6. Unanswered questions. Panic erupted. The idyllic getaway transformed into a scene of chaos and horror. The police arrived, their faces grim as they cordoned off the area. The idyllic peace of the French countryside was shattered. Who was this person? How did they end up in the garden? And how long had their remains been hidden there? The questions lingered, heavy in the air, alongside the stench of death. Section 7. Terror in Madrid. 19-year-old Jacob Lopez, an American student, was excited to explore Madrid. He found an affordable Airbnb in a central location, but his excitement soon turned to terror. The host, a man with unsettling eyes, began exhibiting increasingly erratic behavior. Section 8. A host's true colors. Jacob found himself trapped. The host locked him in his room. The sounds of metal scraping against metal sent shivers down Jacob's spine. Peeking through a crack in the door, he saw the host sharpening a large knife. A chilling grin spread across his face. He was muttering to himself, his words a jumble of Spanish that Jacob couldn't understand, but the menacing tone was unmistakable. Section 9. Trapped. In the heart of a picturesque Spanish town, Jacob found himself in a situation that was anything but idyllic. The charming Airbnb he had rented for a peaceful getaway had turned into a nightmarish trap. The once inviting home now felt like a sinister labyrinth, with every creak of the floorboards and flicker of the lights amplifying his growing sense of dread. Desperate, Jacob called his mother. His hands trembled as he dialed her number, the only lifeline he could think of in that moment of sheer panic. The phone rang, each second feeling like an eternity, until finally she answered. He whispered into the phone, his voice trembling with fear. "Mum, I don't know what to do. I think someone is in the house." His words were barely audible, choked by the terror that gripped him. He could hear his own heartbeat, loud and erratic, as he tried to stay as quiet as possible. His mother, thousands of miles away, listened in horror. She could hear the fear in her son's voice, and it tore at her heart. She wanted to reach through the phone and pull him to safety, but all she could do was listen and try to keep him calm. "Stay hidden, Jacob. I'm going to get help," she assured him, though her own voice wavered with anxiety. She frantically contacted Airbnb and the Spanish authorities. Her fingers flew over the keypad as she dialed number after number, explaining the situation over and over, hoping that someone would take immediate action. The minutes dragged on, each one feeling like a lifetime as she waited for a response. But would help arrive in time? The house seemed to close in around Jacob, the walls pressing in as if they were alive. He could hear footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoing through the hallways. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound amplified in the oppressive silence. Jacob was alone, at the mercy of a madman. He had no idea who this person was or what they wanted, but the malice in their actions was clear. He could feel their presence, a dark and malevolent force that seemed to feed off his fear. He tried to stay hidden, but he knew it was only a matter of time before he was found. His terrifying story serves as a stark reminder of the dark side of paradise. What was supposed to be a dream vacation had turned into a living nightmare. The beautiful facade of the vacation rental hid a sinister reality, one that Jacob would never forget. It was a harsh lesson in the dangers that can lurk behind even the most inviting of appearances. A chilling testament to the fact that even in the age of digital connectivity, true evil can remain hidden in plain sight. Despite all the technology at our fingertips, there are still places where darkness thrives, unseen and unchecked. Jacob's ordeal is a sobering reminder that vigilance and caution are always necessary, no matter how safe or connected we might feel.